In just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Naima Koster, and we're going to be talking about her brand new book called HALSEY Street. And it came out in December. I just became aware of it at the beginning of the year, and I couldn't wait to talk to her. I asked her, and she said yes, and I was so happy. So anyway, it's an amazing book, and what I really loved about it was the mother-daughter relationship, which I want to go into with her because we all have them. All of us women, we have mother daughter, whether we're the mom or the daughter, we have them. So, everyone, here is Naima. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be speaking with author Naima. Then I screwed up. Naima. Yes. Yeah. Naima Koster. I had it in my head and then I screwed it up anyway. I'm so sorry, Naima. Because that is such a beautiful name. Such a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I love different names. I really do. Especially having a name like Michelle, and there were like 50 Michelles in my class, and
Yeah, it's worked for me so far.
Yeah, and it fits you because you're beautiful. So
thank you.
We're going to be talking about her debut novel, which I cannot believe this is a debut novel, HALSEY Street, and she has a copy of it. She's going to hold up to show us this beautiful cover. Look at that. That is so cute. I love, and I don't know, even after I read the book and I go back and look at the cover, because I have a new appreciation of the cover, because it so has to do with her in this house. And
yes, and there's the figure of Penelope on the cover, and she's standing in front of the house as if she wants to enter, but there's some hesitation and acknowledgement that home can be a hard place.
Yeah.
So I love that about the cover.
I do too. And I love this book. It was so the timing. I don't know. It always happens to me. I don't know if that happens to you when you get a book and it like relates to your life like right away.
Yeah, and those books are huge gifts.
Yeah.
I'm glad that HALSEY Street was that for you.
Yeah, well, and my daughter just moved back from Texas, and I'm in Pennsylvania. She's been gone for 9 years, and she had she's a fan. She brought her fan. She left a childless single person and is coming back pregnant with her third child with her husband and kids. And it's been an adjustment. I have 6 children, and it's been like the whole family. It's just been this adjustment. I don't know how to say it. It's awesome. Like, we're all so excited, but it's also like everybody's figuring out their places again. And as I was reading it, that's what I kept thinking about, because she's looking for her place back home. She's trying to figure it out, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I thought a lot as I wrote the book about how homecoming can be so fraught, because you're not just encountering the place and the home, you're also encountering who you used to be there. Yeah. And trying to figure out a new way to exist in your family, in the neighborhood. And it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself, which is a beautiful thing, but also frightening and sticky. So I was thinking about a lot of that as I was writing.
Yeah, and I've spent some time in Pittsburgh, so it was fun. The beginning of the book was a lot of fun for me because I knew where she was, and I was like, and I'm not as familiar with Brooklyn. I've been to New York, I've been to Long Island. I'm not that familiar with Brooklyn, but it was really fun, like kind of being in her world in Pittsburgh. And, and I loved her right off the bat because, especially in this day and age, like as I look at her as like a younger person, since I'm 53, she's younger, and it's like she's so self-confident there.
Yes.
She's very self-confident, Yes. And I loved her right from the bat because, and I don't want to tell people, I don't like to tell too much, but it's like, I love that right from the bat, you can tell that she's a self-confident person there, and then she gives that up because family's pulling her, and she's like, okay, I've got to go,
Yes. I love that you love that, because I think that there are a lot of folks who don't love assertiveness in women. And Penelope and her mother are women who know what they want and are willing to take risks for what they want, even if that's uncomfortable for others. And that's one of the things that I admire about both of them. They don't always make the right choices, but I do admire the way that they want to run their lives.
Yeah, and I like their choices. It's like, I don't know, because don't we just make choices, like when we have choices to be made, like, she could look back and say, I could have done this, but to just own it and be like, but that is the choice I made. And her mom She kind of owned it a little bit. It's like, this is the choice I made, and you may not like it, but it was for me.
Yeah, and that, in fiction, I'm not always looking for ideals of virtue. I'm looking for, as a reader and a writer, real people who are trying to make their way through the mess of
Yes.
life
Yes.
and do what they can with their best judgment at the time, which is shaped by all kinds of things like memories, past experiences with family, desire, trauma. All these things are always pressing on people when they make big decisions.
Right. And I love the ending, and we can't talk about the ending because I refuse. I never do. So I refuse, but I just want to tell you, because you wrote it, so I had to tell you that, it could have ended different ways, but I loved the way it ended. And I wasn't really prepared for it, like how it was going to come full circle around for her. I didn't know what that was going to look like. And it's kind of interesting because I thought, like as I'm reading it, because I'm on my Kindle, right? And so you only see percentages. It's not like I'm holding a book and I can see, right? Like I'm seeing percentages, and it said something like 95%. I was like, but I'm done. Like, where's the other? And then there's like that last chapter, and I was like, oh, wait a second here. This isn't over.
It's great. Yeah, I went back and forth for a long time about what the ending should be because there's so many different parts of the story that needed resolution. So there's the mother and the daughter, there's the daughter and her father, there's Penelope as an artist. There were all these different threads, and so I had to figure out how to resolve all of them sufficiently, but also in a way that feels true to life. Because life, doesn't include nice bows often. Yeah.
And I have a picture here of my mom up on my, like, I can see her on off the screen.
Oh.
And she passed away in 2011, but I have this picture of her, and it's weird because as the further it goes from her passing away, like the more, and I'm 53, you would think that I'd know stuff, but I have two daughters, right? But she made some decisions in her life that I thought were wrong. Like, and I had no problem expressing my thinking wrong. Like, I had no problem. Just like Penelope, I had no problem confronting my mother on her wrong decisions. Okay. But looking back, I'm like, maybe they weren't that wrong. Maybe, wait a second, wait up. And that's what your book did, because I kept thinking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe she was right sometimes. So let's give her a little bit of kudos. And I see how young you are, and I'm like, how did you do that? Because I'm so much, you're the age of my daughters, okay? And it's like, I am still just learning that she may have been right about some things. Even if, let's say, I don't even have to think it's right. Like, it doesn't even have to be about me, which as the child, you always think it is about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a fiction writer, I think that that's my job, to sort of look carefully at people and try to be generous in my assessment of them, my writing of them, and really try to understand why people do the things that they do, not necessarily to endorse it, but I think that there are lots of actions that seem kind of unfathomable, like we can't imagine doing X or doing Y, but clearly other people can.
Right.
And so part of what I think of as the most exciting part of writing is getting deep enough into someone else's mind that you understand the choices that they make and they make sense to you while you're in their mind, even if they're not the right thing to do. And that's part of the way that we get to know one another, right? That's information about people, and there's something really special about having that insight into others, even if you have concerns about how they reach their decisions or objections, right? That's sort of how we get at the truth, through working towards understanding, which I think is really hard in life and a little easier in fiction.
I know, but I am so happy that I'm talking to you at this part in your life, because you are going to be huge, okay? You're inside, like, you are. I have no doubt in my mind, because I've read a lot of books, and I was like, that's why I said it's debut. I want people to understand this is a debut novel. I couldn't believe it. And when I went back, because I got it recommended to me on Instagram, because I have a lot of book reviewer friends. And they were like, did you ever read this book? I'm like, no. And then I started reading. I'm like, oh my gosh, who is she? Like, how old? But I was already like 3/4 the way done when I saw you. And I'm like, oh my goodness. look at how she's a baby, and look at she's got such a future ahead. I mean, it was so insightful. And I'm going to tell some. I wrote down a couple of my favorite quotes, but I'm going to give you my favorite. Okay.
Yes, I want to hear them.
Yeah, this one, I'm telling you, when I read this, I just stopped because I was like, I never thought about this before. And it says, daughters get either their courage or their fear from their mothers. And my mom had both. And I always felt like, when I read it, I was like, I always picked up her fears. But then when I read that, I was like, why don't I just take her courage? You know, like we can decide that too, can't we?
Yeah. And I think that they're really related. Like, I think that sometimes we think of them as really different, but I consider myself somebody who really wrestles with fears, but also has like a deep capacity for courage.
Right.
And so I don't think of them really as like some people are fearful and some people are courageous, but that they're coupled and that we learn from our parents and the people around us how to approach fear and how to approach courage. And I know that in my life, the relationships with the women in my life have been particularly formative for me.
Yeah, and you know, my youngest daughter, she's 22, and she just went to Europe. This is her second time, and I never did. I've never traveled abroad, like, you know, and I've had a lot of fears: fear of flying, fear of traveling, fear. I've gone places in the United States, but I've never left the United States. And when I read that, I was like, maybe there's a little bit of me. Like, I look at her and I'm so in awe, and then I was like, well, maybe whatever courage I have, like she got. So maybe.
Yeah, that there's a way you were able to foster that in her.
Yeah. So this to me was I know other people had different things, and that's awesome too, because I read so many reviews after I was done with this, and people took away so many different things from this book. It was crazy. Okay, from what I took, because I like to see whether they get the same. And it was like, yeah, some people saw what I saw, but a lot of people, I'm sure when you're reading it, you're like, wow, you got that. Like, there are so many different views, and that's how I know you're an awesome writer, because if you can like make that many different perspectives on one book and have people like say, no, I saw this, no, that's just an amazing talent.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I do like seeing that there's a range of responses, because it suggests to me that whatever's happening in the book is rich and has enough dimensions that we don't need to have a consensus about whether Mireya was right or Penelope was right or what it was between them or what's going to happen in the future. I think sort of like the stickier and the more mysterious people's responses are, the more I know that I've created something that is close to life or mimics life.
Right. Well, and I loved the Dominican part, because, of course, I've always wanted to go to the Caribbean. I have not gone to the Caribbean, but that's a part of your heritage, I'm assuming. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So have you been there?
I have. So I've been to the Dominican Republic. I used to go often when I was a girl, but the book, as you know, focuses a little bit on like kind of the coast and time like on the ocean, but then it also goes up into a rural mountain village, which I don't have much experience with personally. So I spent a week in college doing some service in a small rural community in the Dominican Republic. And even if it was just a week, it left such an impression on me. The landscape, there were these like red earth mountains, which I didn't know existed in DR. All the mountains I saw were really green and really lush. And so it was a place where the landscape stayed with me and the people stayed with me. There was a chapel there that was really beautiful. And so I wanted to revisit that place and write it into the book. The same is true for Pittsburgh, which I have not spent a lot of time in, but I went once, and the trip really had this emotional weight to me, and so I wanted to revisit it, and I got to in the book, which was really great. But you should go to the Caribbean.
I should. And you know what's interesting is that I have a lot of Dominican friends. This is an area in Pennsylvania. I don't know why, because you know how you just find different. At our church, there was a huge Dominican part of the congregation, and then they started having Spanish-speaking services at night. You know, because of that, and not even just because they didn't speak English, but just for the fun of it, more than any, you know, a lot of my Dominican friends, like, it's just fun, you know?
Yeah, and it makes sense if people are worshiping and having community, right, to do that in one's language. Yes. And that's something that the book really wrestles with, right? When you have two languages or multiple languages in a family, what becomes the language of emotional interaction? Like, how do you have both when people have different facility with it? And imagine it's similar in your church, right? Like, there's this community, right? What's the language that we talk to each other in? If we have facility with different languages, right? How do we do? What do we sing in? Right? What's the sermon in?
Yeah, and I love that. Well, all of my grandchildren, I have 7 right at the moment. All of their other side of the family is all Spanish. They're either Mexican, Cuban, and then Puerto Rican, right? And then they don't want to tell them, they don't want them to speak Spanish. And I'm always like, you need to get them to speak I want them to be I don't know. That's just my own opinion. I think they should speak Spanish too, as much as English. So,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Something I was thinking about in the book is, for Latino identity, like language being a part of it for Spanish speaking Latinx folks, but then also all these other things that are a part of cultural heritage too that might not be linked to language, like sort of ideas about family and family dynamics, ideas about success, ideas about what community should be. So the conflict between the mother and the daughter aren't just about language, but also these cultural things that are part of being Dominican, being Latina.
Yeah, and I know you got so many compliments for having the Spanish in the book that's there. Everybody was like, yay! I mean, they loved that part of it because it kind of fit right into it. And even though I don't speak Spanish, it didn't ruin anything. But I was like, oh, look at all these people are really happy about it. So I'm
good. I'm glad to hear that people were that some folks were happy about it. I was happy to write it, and it also felt important for the characters and the way to be true to their minds and their interactions. And I also think, whenever we're reading, that there are things that we can't fully grasp, even when the book is all in one language, like whether it's like a reference or some sort of historical event or even, subtext. And so I think that reading also is about things that you keep wondering about and that you can't totally crack. It's not about complete comprehension.
Right. So, like, what's next? So this book came out in December.
Yes.
It's gotten huge notice on Amazon, everything. Like I said, Instagram, everybody was reading it. I mean, you must be so happy as your debut novel,
I've been totally thrilled. This book, I was working on it for a number of years. It took about 4 years to write and to revise, but the journey from starting it to it being out in the world was almost 7 years. So for it to have a larger life than me and my immediate circle and my hard drive has been amazing. And whenever I get to interact with readers, it's, a reminder of why I write, which is the kind of connection that can happen when people read and that kind of understanding. So it's been really beautiful, and I can't have asked for more. In terms of what next, more books.
Are you writing? Are you in the process?
I'm in the process of working on 2 books right now, and they both grow out of Halsey Street in terms of their themes, which makes sense because, my preoccupations and interests haven't changed. So they're books, both of them, about family, about the inner lives of women, about courage, and the kind of courage it takes to own your life, but also remain connected to the people around you. And so one of them is a quest story about a woman who's responsible for the survival of her family as they go on this journey. And then the other one is the story of a community like the one that I live in now in North Carolina, where there's an integration of 2 public high schools sort of across lines of class and race, and how that ripples through the community in terms of producing tension, producing connections. So they're both about identity, and people trying to find ways to connect to one another and also find their place. Even if they're not set in Brooklyn, they're not about gentrification, all new characters, it feels like a way to revisit a lot of things that really matter to me in the books.
Yeah, and I really think your readers are going to appreciate that. Like I said, you have your own little niche, and that's awesome. That they know what kind of book they're going to get when they read one of your books, and that's a great thing as an author.
Yeah, and I think that, all of these themes are endlessly fascinating, and, I could spend my whole life writing about these themes, and there'd still be so much more to say. But I like to think of them as sort of small contributions. Yeah.
Well, like I said, for your age, you got so much in. I loved that it was so pertinent to my life, and that I learned things, and
Yeah.
I just, I can't ask for more from a novel. You know what I mean? You just can't, because I was like, I never thought about that. I mean, just different things she was going through, and even like I said, she's younger than me, but I was still learning so much from Penelope, and I loved her so much, and I was so attached to her character. It was crazy good. So show everybody the cover again, because I want them to see it. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me see the binding.
Yeah.
I love binding. I'm such a weird person, but I love seeing, like, do you see on Instagram the people that make arts out of those bindings?
I don't think I have.
There are some crazy. First of all, there's the girl that does her nails in the cover, the color of her nails, and it matches the cover. Did you see her?
I saw someone in the book club Rebel Women Lit, which is in Kingston, Jamaica, based there. Someone did her manicure based on the colors of Halsey Street, which was great.
Oh, that's so awesome,
Like
because somebody on
red and yellow.
They're taking every book cover and do it. But anyway, then there are these other crazy people, and I think it's called Book Sugar. It's called Book Sugar, and she takes the book bindings and then she creates murals of her on her book. Like, if you saw my bookshelf, okay, like, it's just stacks of books. But I'm like, the woman's crazy, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, that's really cool, because I think sometimes people think about reading as like this sort of passive or solitary thing, like you sit on your couch and you read, and certainly it's that. But also, I always find that reading, like, really engages and inspires me and makes me want to do things, like talk to someone about it. I can't paint, otherwise I might be moved to do some sort of painting.
I was thinking that you would like that because of the art element and then if they use your book, like, even when they do not just full bookcases but like pictures. Did you see, like, they'll do pictures with like coffee and flowers and I don't know. It just makes me happy as a reader to see that. So I'm sure as the author, it would make you even happier. So.
Yeah, it makes me happy too. I mean, it's also really affirming to see how much books matter to other people, right? And it's like a reminder, like, I know why I read and why I write, but it's helpful to know other people also see value. And it's encouraging.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm going to have all of your links listed underneath here. And I want to say your name right before we end. Naima.
Yes, that's it. Naima.
Naima. It's so easy, but you know how when you read it, like I said, I was listening to it and some interviews that people were doing and book vloggers, I guess they call them, they did not get it right on YouTube. So I kept listening to it and they were saying it two different ways, which wasn't even your way. So anyway.
You got it from the source.
That's right. Go right to the source of the person.
Yeah.
So I will have all of your links listed under here so people can find you and the link to your book. And I wish you all the success. I mean, like I said, I'm really happy to be talking to you now, because in a couple of years I won't be able to get near you, and you'll be on the Today Show or something. So, and I'll say I knew her when.
Yeah, I will go on the Today Show if the Today Show will have me. But it's been really great to talk to you. Thank you for your enthusiasm about the book.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk soon.
All right, talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everyone, and that was Naima, and I can now say her name, and I'm so happy. I feel so bad that I screwed it up in the beginning, but anyway, isn't she adorable? Oh, she's so cute and so young. This book was really, really good, guys. Go get this book. I have all her links underneath here, and they're big things for her, okay? I just see big, big things. In a couple of years, she's going to be like an everyday household name. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you like the video, please hit like. And if you'd like to get updates on all my videos, please hit subscribe.